Betsy Ross was born Elizabeth Griscom, the eighth of 17 children, on January 1st, 1752. Throughout her childhood, she was taught to sew and improve her sewing by various female family members. Seeing her talent for sewing, her father helped her to break the usual cast-iron rule of women by enrolling her in a trade school for sewing, just in case she would ever need to support herself as her great-aunt had. At age 12, she became apprenticed to John Webster, the local upholsterer. At the upholsterer's shop, Elizabeth met John Ross, and after a few years defied the friendship of Quakers to marry John as a member of the Christ Episcopal Church. Betsy and John married in front of a fireplace at the tavern of one of John's friends in Gloucester on November 4, 1773. After the wedding, John and Betsy settled down to a shop in Philadelphia, after a few buildings, to begin creating upholstery. When the colonies began revolting against the king and the colonial militia was formed, John was among their ranks in training. While he trained, Betsy continued creating upholstery and hoping, like many colonists, that the conflict would pass quickly. In January of 1776, John Ross died of a gunpowder wound and was buried in the church courtyard. Betsy was left alone to make tents and blankets for the militia. Having worshipped at the Christ Church with John, Betsy had often spoken with his uncle, the Honorable George Ross, and Colonel George Washington. After many secretive meetings, George Ross, Washington, and a man named Robert Morris approached Betsy with a basic design idea for a flag. Betsy made a few changes to the design, approved by her visitors, and set to work. While a painter was given a copy of the flag plan to create on canvas, Betsy went to Mr. Morris's shipping wharf to examine a sample of how the flag needed to behave. When it was announced that Betsy's flag had been chosen over the others asked, Betsy was asked to make as many more as possible. How would she complete the order when she'd only had 2 orders since John's death? With money provided by Colonel Ross, Betsy set her sights to make as many as she could. Independence was declared on July 4th, 1776. Betsy married Captain Joseph Ashburn on June 15th, 1777, and had 2 girls, Zillah and Eliza, before the captain was imprisoned for treason and died 20 months after his capture. 6 months after the preliminary treaty of peace, Betsy and her old friend John Claypool married. John joined her in her upholstery business, and Betsy had her 3rd through 5th daughters, Clarissa, Rachel, and Jane. Together, John and Betsy returned to being Quakers, but instead of their old friendship, they helped found the Free Quakers with the help of General Washington and Ben Franklin. Betsy Ross died on January 30th, 1836.